SJ, welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stone Go, Gary Fife, Jaho Jeff Gedas, Mvskoke Radio, I'm back after a couple of weeks off and battling a head cold. I'm back in the saddle here today, and I want to thank Darren Delaune for pulling the show together for us and coming in and filling in. Sure appreciated him being there for me to fall back on. He's a pretty good bench, I'd say. 2,000 meadows, Darren. Okay, let's get back to business here. In today's program, we've got three segments planned for you. First of all, we'll be talking to the Environmental Services people about their ongoing America Recycles Day. It's been going on all week here in the Mvskoke Nation. They've had a number of events and activities going on. We'll hear from them about what they've got going on. In our second segment, we'll be talking about the Men's Summit that's coming up on the 17th, aimed at reaching out to young men and women, young men and olders. Speakers from the ground and church will be sharing experiences and dealing with trauma, and it's open to all men. That's in our second segment. In our third segment, we have planned a discussion of reporter's review of the Mvskoke Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples workshop. That happened yesterday at the district court. It was focusing on the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and how it might affect us here in the Mvskoke Nation. So we'll see about having a couple of people from our reporting staff at Mvskoke Media join us for that one. But first of all, we'd like to welcome Joe Hooper and Kyle Settlemeyer from the Environmental Services Office. They are recycling technicians and have been working on Recycling Week and the day here, and going to tell us about what's been going on. So first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for making time for me today to come in and talk.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Head cold does not want to let go. First of all, Joe, why don't you start and kind of give us a capsule idea of what the recycling events are all about this week.
Okay. The America Recycles Day is a day set aside especially for just a reminder of recycle awareness, to buy recycled products, to recycle more, basically to practice your reduce, reuse, and recycle method.
Kyle, let me ask you, the word recycle, it could mean a lot of different things, but what are we looking for right here? And when we're talking about home recycling or business, what do we got?
It's kind of just an up and coming thing for this town. I mean, they've always had the thing downtown here, right? But we're just trying to kind of boost it for our tribe and get it going.
Okay. Now, this is a week-long event. Do I have that correct? And there are a number of things going on and stuff that's already happened and a couple of other things coming up in the next few days.
Correct. We started the event Monday morning. It's directed toward the 15th. November the 15th is the actual day for the America Recycles Day, but at Creek Nation at the Environmental Services, we thought we would open it for the week for electronics waste, e-waste, which is your computers, your old used radios, TVs.
I'm assuming you're seeing a lot of these big old box TVs
we're getting
coming
quite
in.
a few. I mean, we could have our own TV store if we wanted to.
Oh my gosh!
But that's the whole purpose. Everybody's buying new flat screens, LCDs, and those tube TVs. They're just things of the past anymore.
Yeah, Fred Flintstone expected a little monkey inside turning buttons and things. The week has other things happening also, is that correct?
Yes, so we had a paper shredding event yesterday. We have Green Country Shredding come down, provide a shredding truck for us. We went from 9 to noon, and in that time we recycled, let's see, I believe we had 3,500 pounds or more, about 3,500 pounds of recycled shredded paper. It takes 17 trees to be saved for every ton of paper that we recycle.
So there are a couple of folks out there that
Yeah.
are still around because we're doing this.
Correct.
Now, what kind of stuff are people bringing in? Is like office paper or stuff from a home? You know, like this.
For this particular event, it was directed towards anything that was really personal because we in our daily routes that we do for our job, we do collect papers and cardboards and plastic goods and stuff like that. But we was getting a lot of personal information that
yeah.
needed to be taken care of. So that's kind of what we want to do is step up and help them guys get rid of that personal information that nobody needs to be handling.
Right, we're not talking love letters here.
Oh,
We're
no.
talking business records and
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of different stuff like that.
Right.
The event has quite a range of materials that you did take, which is, of course, electronics and cardboard, papers, bottles, and aluminum cans. Is there any difference in that material that you accept? I mean, sometimes there are plastics that some people will take and others won't. What do we got there?
For that, we do take the plastics. They have the identity numbers on the bottom or somewhere stamped on the bottle somewhere. You have a number 1, number 2, 1 through 7. Actually, I think is what it is. There are certain numbers that are good numbers to use, and some of the plastics are more toxic than the others. I think the rule of thumb is the higher the number, the more times it's been recycled and the more chemicals have been put into it.
Yeah.
So, we've got a sheet here. We could go on and on and on about, the numbers and the explanations, but
So if you got a 1 or a 2, that's not too bad, but you're looking at 6 or 7, and you might want to think about it.
right. That's exactly right. It says right here on my paper, number 6 and number 7 is
Bingo.
one of the ones you want to avoid at all costs because, like I said, there's just more polyethylene and
Polychemical
all the
junk,
poly
yeah.
stuff in it. Yes.
That ugly stuff. Now, I understand there are some differences, like in cardboard too. Like when I think of cardboard, I think of boxes. You put all your junk in and move, and you find all the boxes you can.
Yes.
But cereal boxes and things like that are different from that. I understand.
Yes,
is
sir.
that
It's a
correct?
different grade. It's a total different grade. The corrugated cardboard is, like your packing boxes, your traveling boxes, UPS boxes. You can tell the difference in the corrugated from the chipboard is what you're describing as your cereal boxes, cigarette cartons, of that nature.
Right.
So if it's single layered, that's what you call the chipboard, and that's the lower grade that we separate different from the moving boxes.
Okay, so something bound for FedEx is different from something that's just
Correct.
held Captain Crunch.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions for recycling. Is it doesn't all go in the same place. You got a different grade of paper, 2 or 3 different grades of this, 2 or 3 different grades of that.
Does that have to be separated? I mean, do you have to put somebody on the job
Yes.
to actually?
Yes, we do.
Kyle, you got a big grin on your face.
Yeah, we have to separate pretty much everything we get, and then we bale up the cardboard and like the shredded paper together, and then we'll kind of separate the office paper and the cans and the bottles.
Now, Kyle, you are chiefly responsible for bringing this effort into this century. I was going to say 21st, but I think are we still in 21st? Yeah.
The office millennial.
Yeah, whatever this century is. But you're putting it on social media now, which is something I was not aware of. And what's the idea there? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, I boost most of the posts we do, which is I think $20 a day, but it'll get it out to like usually around 2,500 people see it, just around the community. So we're just trying to ramp up our recognition, I guess.
Oh, what's the message you're trying to put across?
Just to keep our tribe green as we can. Try to work that into our background.
Well, we were born with that. I mean, our people are protectors of the
Yeah.
earth, and we've got brothers and sisters up north in North Dakota battling an oil company up there. But it's, something that should be ingrained in us. So recycling should be kind of a natural here. Now, since you mentioned you kind of take care of the tribe, the grounds, our offices and things, we see
Yeah.
some of your crew come through and pick up those orange waste baskets and take care of that. How are we doing? Joe, Kyle, are we responding well? I mean, have our employees really pitched in and taken this to heart from what you see and pick up during your rounds?
I think there's a big part of them that are responding very well. Of course, there's always going to be some problematic areas, that can be worked on or improved, but that's solely through the word of mouth, and really I would say just by lead by example.
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree with you there, and I might have been kind of a pain in the backside to some of our other colleagues in my department. Is I'll see the Red Bull can in the trash, and I said,
Yeah.
no, come on, guys,
Right,
take
yeah.
it around to the back, put it in with the other aluminum.
Yeah.
They don't even think about
Yeah,
it.
there's a few rules to recycling. There's rules for the cardboard. There's rules for the plastics and the aluminums, and generally we like for people to rinse those out and wash them out, because like we said, we have to take those to our shop and hand separate them ourselves into different bins, and then we proceed on and take them to the bigger centers where.
Yeah, and you don't want to be handling all this stuff with all
Right.
the sticky crud
Right.
and flies and whatever
Right.
else hanging on to
Yeah,
it.
it's kind of tough sometimes.
Yeah. Now, I think part of your effort here is to have our people take this message home with them and be committed. And that's not exactly an easy thing to do. My wife is committed and kind of, doesn't mind reminding me, say, hey, wait a minute, that cardboard goes over here. To the point where, we've got little sacks of stuff,
Yeah.
here and there. Does this really take that sort of a commitment, do you think, the way you guys feel and making recycling real?
I think you just have to make a good habit out of it, and just maybe put the recycling bin right by the trash can, so you just becomes kind of second nature.
I think another thing you could do also is get out and notice more. Just open your eyes a little more, not only to your surroundings, the community. Maybe next town over. Just be aware of the surroundings and notice what's out there. And it's not hard to recycle if you just want to be a responsible person. And my thing is, my target is the youngsters. When I was a youngster, Iron Eyes Cody was, you remember Iron Eyes Cody?
Oh, yeah. God, stop crying and pick up the darn
Pick
trash.
up the trash. So now look what we're doing right now. We're really having to pass on the message: keep America beautiful, keep it clean, recycle.
Was that Iron Eyes or Ironized?
Iron Eyes Cody?
Ironized Cody.
Yes.
I guess that message has sunk in. I actually do feel guilty, if I don't.
Well, I guess it worked then, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. As adults, we spent all our time probably helping pollute this area, but now we need to spend the time teaching the young ones to not pick up after us per se, but learn a better way and just lay the path down for themselves and understand that this is their world, this is their future, and that's what they've got to recognize and be taught. And I think as citizens of the community and the tribe, that's our responsibility for this world, for this time. It's a tough time, and the kids are very important.
Well, this is a wonderful thing you're doing that gives us a reminder that it's not that hard to do, and
It's not hard at all.
once you get into the habit of it, it's consistent. Yeah, makes your office look better, your home, the world.
I think it's an issue we can all kind of agree upon with all the issues that are, election year or whatever. But
Yeah, but we still see complete idiots dumping a truckload of stuff somewhere.
I'll give you a good example of that. Here, just last year, we quit taking e-waste, TVs and stuff, just for a moment. And it seems like the moment we quit taking all those items, on my way home, I was seeing those items on the side of the road.
Oh gosh.
So that's the alternative to recycling. You either recycle or it's going to end up on the side of the road. That's what we're here for. We have resources to pass that on to the next guy that recycles the product.
Yeah, I've seen that same sort of thing too. My family has some land over near Bristow, and there used to be one turn off of Highway 48, I think it is, and all kinds of junk. I mean, it's like people just decided, oh, well, if we got to throw something away, let's take it over here. And refrigerators and old stoves and bags of crap, and this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the state came along and cleaned it out and fenced it off that stopped.
Right.
Took that sort of activity and enforcement, I guess, hopefully, because I don't want to have to go back and look at it again. Now, while we're kind of looking in those areas, there are things that you are not accepting. There are things that people shouldn't be trying to bring and dump off on you just to...
Yeah, correct. Again, it's just a common sense says, if the recycle center is not equipped to, take such items, that's why we make a list of what we accept. But still, we get people that want to bring us, like refrigerators, big copiers, office copiers, and anything of the sorts that was bulky, washing machines, stuff of that nature.
What should people do with that kind of stuff?
I recommend, first of all, if it's in any working order whatsoever, if there's anybody that in the community or donated to Goodwill or something like that, they repair those items also and send them on out to the people. But if not that, my recommendation is, since we don't accept them and we don't deal in them, go to the nearest scrapyard and see what you get. You might get a sack of groceries, you might get enough for a candy bar, but
Hey.
at least it's being taken to the guy that knows what to do with it.
Sure, a little Reese's Pieces or something like that make you feel a little better.
Right.
The documents kind of thing intrigues me, though, and I could see where a lot of people, as you say, responded to that. Will these kinds of things be repeated and other opportunities for folks to come and bring that kind of thing to you?
Yeah, I'm sure it will. There's always a demand for shredding paper, especially within the tribe. The tribe's got a lot of departments that deal with personal information. I think we probably may in the near future look at trying to set more recycle events up, shredding events up, with the nation, or even probably the community if need be, I guess, because it's not restricted just to one certain area. Recycling goes everywhere.
Right.
It's everywhere you go. I look around in this office, and we got enough in this office to start another whole section. So
I'm sure Brooks will be
yeah,
delighted
there's no
to
crack
hear
on
that.
that. That's just
Okay, get rid of that pile of ketchup over there.
Yeah, recycle that right there. So.
Okay. Yeah, for my hot dogs or something
Yeah,
like that.
but that's what I'm getting at. There's a lot of everyday items that go out. You get your radios, your TVs, your clock radios, things of that nature. We recycle those, bring them, and we have the people to take them to. We got Electronic Synergy Foundation is the people that is dealing with us this week on this event. They donated 48 pallets and 48 pumpkin boxes that we could collect our e-waste in, and I believe that's one of the guys we're going to look at and seeing if we can start dealing with them guys, because he, did us pretty good, I think, on this one.
Yeah, that sounds good. You've still got opportunities for people to bring materials in and recycle. That'll be going through the week. I presume that's at the recycling center over in the industrial park?
Yes, over in the industrial park, right directly behind the transportation building.
Okay.
Let me mention too, if you come by and recycle with us this week, we're having a couple of door prizes, and we're just giving out, if you come by, we'll give you a ticket and just hang on to it, and we'll take your name and number and give you a call at the end of the week to see if you won our door prize.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
Try and recycle some stuff that
Yeah.
my wife wants to keep, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, put that back. Okay, all right. Well, Joe and Kyle, thank you so much. Now, Kyle, if someone wanted to find this material on Facebook, what's the address there?
That would be MCN Recycle Center,
Okay.
and it's just got a picture of our little building on it, and yeah.
Okay. Well, I remember when they opened that building up, did the old ribbon
Yeah.
cutting. Well, that's good. And the phone number if someone has questions or want contact.
For further information on recycle events, or if your community wants to set up with our department to come have a spill with you at your community meetings, maybe we can organize an event with your community. That we're kind of doing outreaches like that also.
That's good.
So, like I said, if your next community meeting you want to see what we're about, just call us down at 918-549-2580. That's our main office, and see what we can do.
Okay, well, Joe, Kyle, thank you so much for coming in and filling our listeners in on this recycle effort. Hopefully we have given some folks a few grains of ideas that will grow, and they will start participating. And I want to thank all of our Mvskoke people who are taking part in this also. We're going to take a short pause and be back with a discussion on the Men's Summit, so stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio, here on 1240 The Brew. Maru.
Who am I? Am I native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am. And meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians. Who am I? Am I Indian? Just 'cause I'm a girl from the res, don't make things up about me. What if I move away? Then who am I? Some kids try meth just to escape, but then I think about my grandma, my little brother, my beadwork, my poetry, and I think, I like who I am, and I know meth is not for me.
Check out ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Hear that? That's the sound of hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
One Fire Casino in Okmulgee offers Ladies' Day every Monday with $5 match play, VIP days for seniors on Tuesdays, lunchtime match plays on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and several other great drawings and prizes throughout the weekend. Don't forget to take advantage of spinning the wheel on Sundays to win up to $5,000 cash. Be sure to check out the daily meal specials at Council Oak Cafe. There are exciting monthly giveaways with extravagant prizes. Come and play at One Fire Casino, where it really is okay to play with fire.
Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew in beautiful, beautiful sunny downtown Okmulgee. I'm Gary Fife here. And joining me here in the studio now is Amani Randall. And he wants to share some information about the Men's Summit coming up the 17th. to deal with, address issues that are specifically important to men and things that we have to, as men, have to deal with. Well, you tell us about it rather than me read it. Monty, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me down here. We're having the Men's Summit tomorrow, November 17th at the Mvskoke Creek Nation Dome from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. So we're going to come in. We're inviting all men and boys, to come out and just kind of bring everybody together and kind of discuss some of these issues that you mentioned, and some of the issues that we face as men today. That's what we're gonna take a look at and just.
Let me ask you first of all. We've heard the term summit used with a number of different kind of things, like International Nuclear Summit, and I'm sure we're not talking about anything that involved. But when we use the term summit in this case, what are we talking about? You explain it for me, perhaps.
Well,
what's it all about?
We're just talking about reaching out, to the community and bringing people together. So we can present these, present these ideas, to the group, to the collective, and really just try to come away with, some ideas. I mean, I would like to say solutions, but, right now, some ideas on how to address a lot of it. And really, we're looking at, like you had mentioned, we had the Men's Health Summit last year, which was a great program, and it focused, a lot on healthcare and those types of issues. This year, the Men's Summit is, looking at well-being, the well-being of our men, which includes a lot of different issues that we face, just kind of, emotional and it includes the physical, but, just an overall well-being, how we address things, and it talks about, on the flyer, that some of the purpose why we're coming together was, about issues of suicide, depression, substance abuse, domestic violence. Those are some of the issues that we want to look at and talk about. And like I said, certainly we'd love to have solutions from this, but really the main thing is we want to identify a lot of this, and and start a dialogue and continue that dialogue into the future and come up with some ideas.
The role of Native American men has really evolved over the last century or so. Traditional societies have been shredded, and we've had to rebuild communities and families and things like that. And a lot of people had held on to the idea that the man was the warrior of the family. He was the leader. His word was gold. Mm-hmm. That women and children should obey and this kind of thing. He was a provider. Woman took care of the house and family and this kind of thing. But all of that's been pretty much wiped out because of changing society, because of economics. And changing value systems, I think, where our men are being asked to honor and value the contribution that women make, not only taking care of the family and things like that and bringing children into the world, but providing an income in many cases, being the sole source provider and that sort of thing. So that kind of changes then have had their effect on men. many of them felt like, oh, well, the women are taking over the world. I said, well, then you don't step up and do it yourself, let them. But does this kind of thinking or discussion figure into what you guys are doing?
Well, I believe it does, at some point, and one thing that you said was values, and that's where I see a lot of it, the changing values of the society, more so than anything else, and I think one thing that we definitely want to stress, is that that's great. That's, to have women in leadership positions and women to take on these roles, because, a lot of times they, just like you said, they were, the values have changed and structures, the household structures have changed, and that's what was needed. So, not really, as sort of, who can do it better or competition wise, but really just to, I think the main value, and something that we can use, that we can call on our cultural, our cultural strengths, is to, talk about the values of Native men and even those warrior societies, one of the greatest things that I heard here lately was, recently I had the privilege of attending a men's summit from the Office on Violence Against Women, and they held a summit or a conference. I don't know if they called it a summit, but we held a conference and came together, Native men from all over the country. And this Lakota man, he spoke about the warrior societies, and getting back to that, and he talked about the rites of passage and the things that they took their their young men through. And one thing that he said was, there was no real time or definition of how long this took or what what took place. But the main thing that he said was, they became men when they learned how to cry. And whenever they learned how to cry, it was because they could show that compassion and that to take care of their families. Whenever they cared that much for their families or their communities or whatever it was, then they were ready. They were ready to move. And these are the type of values that I'm talking about. That we need. We have that. That is ingrained in us as Native American people. This belief and this value and this structure and all of this passion. All of this stuff is a part of who we are. And like you said, this society is. I mean, we've got to interact in this society. That's just how it works today. But we still have that. That aspect of our culture that we can call on.
One of the things that was always kind of stuck in my mind is there was a time when, man as head of the household ruled. And if the woman didn't do what he said, then, physical abuse was okay, as long as they kept it behind closed doors or whatever else. Guys didn't think much about it and would joke about that sort of thing, saying, "Oh yeah, so the old lady got mouthy, so I had to give her a little beat therapy." Well, that's changed so much, and for the good, thank God, through the efforts of very strong and brave women, and the thinking of our men who singing, this is wrong and we need to change this. This is not acceptable. And it seems like it's almost kind of a structural thing that people have to deal with. It's saying, no, don't go home and beat up the old lady. Someday that's going to come back on you, and you ain't going to like it very much. Now, does that ever enter into the discussions at a summit like this?
Well, we're gonna talk about or we're gonna address these issues for definitely. And again, this is that developmental trauma. Like you said, behind a lot of that was behind closed doors. But whenever you're in a family, household, it's seen by the children, and that definitely has an impact on their lives. And so those are the things that we're gonna address. And like I said, solutions. I mean, we certainly we would love to have solutions, but the first part of this is identifying that, identifying what has taken place, and for that's going to be, I think that's going to be the focus on this initially, is let's identify a lot of this. Let's think of some ideas, and let's try to walk away from this summit with something tangible and something that we can do. And one thing that we're looking at is having creating a network or contacts that we can build on. So that's just keeping it right there. But yeah, definitely, that's going to be something that we address in this summit. So.
Well, what sort of resources are you pulling in then to teach, to discuss, to share? What have you got lined up for your
Well,
program?
we've got some cultural, we're going to have some cultural aspects to it. We're going to have behavioral health professionals, and so we're gonna have some ceremonial leaders come out and talk to us. We're gonna have some leaders of our traditional churches come out. We're gonna have a panel discussion of like I said, elders and men, and maybe some younger men to get up there and hear some of their ideas. But we'll also have behavioral health. We'll be there. They're going to provide some information to us. But we've got a couple of videos lined up. I know PR has done a really good job. I've seen a couple of these videos that they put together. They've done some interviews with some of our elders and asking them about. Traditionally, culturally, how did we handle these issues in the past? So I think that's going to be really, really interesting. And I think that's those are the strengths that we need to call on and use. I think it's gonna be a good a good discussion, and there's going to be several points brought to it from different directions. So.
Well, what you've shared with us there is kind of a traditional program. A lot of times we hear these same points are being discussed, and as they should be, and I think, and included in open exchanges and things like this. Are there things that are more contemporary? Like, we don't live in the same society as we did in the 1940s or 50s or even the 60s. We're living now in 2016, and so much has changed. Families have evolved in so many different directions. The role of men has changed so much. Social media is out there. We got a brand new president who's got his own ideas of what he wants to see. A new chief here with putting resources into assisting people in different ways. Do you have anything kind of aimed at the here and now?
We do. We're actually, yes, thank you. That's a great point. Behavioral health is gonna bring out some information, and we're gonna collect some data from this as well. So definitely, we're going to use our traditional practices, but then also we're going to blend that in with some assessment data that we're going to collect from this to help us better analyze, this information and like I said, hopefully create some programs or activities, but, definitely continue events like this and continue this discussion, and later when we return back to this with that data, that'll be very, very helpful for us. So, we're looking forward to that and looking for a good turnout to, so we can collect some good data and have a good, have a good showing of.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Is there anything else you wanted to share, something you might want to point out, or something we might have missed here that you want to get out there?
Well, I just encourage everybody to come out, all the men. I've heard that one of the local schools is bringing a coach and a football team is bringing a couple of their men, their young men out. So that's definitely that's definitely a good thing. And we want to get those young men to come out and connect with the other men, with the other the leaders out there, and that's something that we want to be able to walk away with is a network of support.
Sure. Well, interesting choice of bait there. Monty, thank you so much. Now, if anyone wants more information, how do they get in touch with you?
You can contact the PR. They'll have the information.
Okay.
Mvskoke Nation PR. They'll have all the information on this event.
All right. Well, Mado, we appreciate you making time and coming down to visit with us. Good luck with the summit there, and we'll kind of be watching the backside, see what else comes out.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short pause here, and we'll be back. Sterling Cosper, who is actually the new manager now at Mvskoke Media, attended the Indigenous rights workshop that was conducted, and we'll have some a little bit of an idea of what went on there and what got discussed. So stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother, and some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here. I'm Gary Fife, still battling a head cold, and so I hope you'll forgive me here. Coming in and joining us here is the new manager of Mvskoke Media, Sterling Cosper. He's pretty much first week of business here.
Yeah, it's been busy enough that I've lost count anyway,
Okay.
but something like that.
Oh boy, we got stuff lined up for you, boy.
Yes, sir. Many unplanned things too.
Yes. Now, let's get back to business here. We have seen where there was the district court put on a workshop kind of looking at the UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights and how it applies here at, I presume, at the Mvskoke Nation. Now, I know you didn't get to set in on everything there and get as in depth as you probably would have preferred, but what did you see from the time you were there? What was this thing all about?
Well, the council had adopted a resolution to adopt this Declaration of Indigenous Rights, I think originally drafted by the UN. And from what I remember, this was an effort spearheaded by the Mvskoke Creek Nation District Court. Greg Bigler has kind of drawn all of this together. So while I was there, primarily this lady was speaking, who was the legal counsel for NCAI on this Indigenous rights thing on the UN, I believe. And she was just talking generally about, I think most of the focus while I was there was talking about how much of a priority Indigenous people are made on these kind of summits like the UN. And it was really sad because she was saying how they would be put at the bottom of an agenda, and just because you were on the agenda wasn't guaranteed that you were going to speak. So essentially it was like as time allows, and she talked about the number of times she knew of personally and witnessed that the Indigenous representatives did not get to speak. Despite the fact that they paid all this money to send someone overseas, that they made this presentation, put it together, and then lo and behold, you don't get an opportunity. She said the one time I think that she got someone on was because like 8 people in a row dropped out.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that's the one fact that really stood out to me, and we know that, just I guess demographically as a percentage, even in our own country, how we as Indigenous people feel as a priority sometimes.
Well, I guess, being on the outside looking in, you hear examples like that and you think, well, this is all lip service. I mean, saying, oh, we'll take care of Indigenous rights too and put them on the agenda. And, it means nothing if they don't get heard. And, for the life of me, I still haven't figured out how the UN's going to affect the life here, Mvskoke Creek people here in Okmulgee. I mean, geez. Was there anything kind of pointed out that you saw that Mvskoke Nation, Mvskoke citizens should be paying attention to in particular?
Well, yeah, you point out a real interesting thing there, and that's really goes with anything the UN does. If you talk to any, especially some of the larger nations, this has been an idea I think since post-World War II to kind of get people on the same page. But essentially they pass these resolutions, but there's a lot of people that are kind of anti-centralization, anti-globalization, so there's not always a lot of tools of enforcement. A lot of this is symbolic. So essentially what the lady said is, in getting these things passed, basically it's a document they can point to, Indigenous people, as this has been a universally accepted standard, whether you're talking about women's rights like the Violence Against Women Act, and that ties right into the right of tribes to have their own courts and prosecute for crimes like that and other things, which we know in our own country is an ongoing battle. But that's done in Congress, and so if someone stands up and makes an argument, they can point to documents like this and say, the whole world's watching, as the saying goes. But she was talking about sometimes how some of the classic British colonies, who I guess upon first glance you would think were more of the progressive nations out there, were some of the most resistant to actually approving these documents. Mm-hmm. So if nothing else, even if they don't get approved, they can say, well, this stuff has been drafted by these number of professionals with these credentials that are also objective, she pointed out, whether they're passed or not, and you can use them as an argument in Congress.
Right. I think from kind of listening to this, and I think pointing out the British is a good example. It's like their thinking used to be the sun never sets on the British Empire. It means we colonized or stole or whatever enough land around the globe that somewhere on Earth sunlight will be showing on our British possession, unquote. Those kinds of that thinking's been challenged in so many, hopefully a growing arena, including the Papal Bull regarding the right of discovery. So, wait a minute, you can't come over here and say this is ours just because you set foot on it. There are people here, there are cities, there was civilization. So I know that's a kind of a bit off the subject, and I'm starting to rant here, but were we talking, was this discussion heading in those directions? Did you hear any of that, either from the speaker or from the attendees?
Well, it's just that I guess if you looked at that right, when they talk about British colonies, they're talking about countries that may have been a part of the empire at one point. But the weird irony there, obviously, is that we stressed for our own independence from that empire, only to turn around and have this issue with the original inhabitants of this land. Mm-hmm. And so you assert independence as far as it works for you sometimes, but then you have these indigenous people that are disenfranchised because of your move to become independent. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the strange irony there, and I think that was touched upon a little bit.
We stole it fair and square, yeah.
Yes.
I've heard that one before, too. Now, were there any, well, first of all, what kind of reaction did you get from the audience? I know these kinds of heavy topics don't often provoke, animated discussion. But, what did you hear from the audience while you were there?
Well, there wasn't a lot of interaction by the point I was there. Folks seemed to be, yes, kind of soaking it up and processing it at that point in the discussion anyway. But I got there kind of early, so I think people were still kind of getting their feet wet. This thing ran from 1 to 5, and so I was there, for about an hour, and then handed off to Darren to kind of sit in and watch for developments. But folks were paying attention, and I would say the big thing that stood out to me, whether or not people spoke, was the contents of the audience, and it was mostly ceremonial leaders and participants. And so it really probably acted as a good way for them to better understand what the global conversation is about some of the issues they're facing. One notable person was Miko George Thompson with Hickory Ground, and anybody, I assume, that's tuning in, just a short update that our fellow tribe back in our original territory in the southeast, we had originally supported their federal recognition status with the understanding that they were going to protect that land, and then they turned around and built a casino, dug up remains, repatriated, I guess, whichever phrasing you want to choose. And so there's been an ongoing battle for like 3 years now, trying to resist that effort. And talk about a complex one, because typically, of course, we were speaking in terms of our relationship with the federal government, not another tribe, but nonetheless, the cultural preservation issue still comes into play there.
We have to remember our relationship with the federal government exists. It is a political reality. It is not a racial kind of thing. There is no Bureau of African American Affairs, or Bureau of Chinese Affairs, but there is the Bureau of Indian Affairs. In its own way, symbolizes that relationship. Now, to get away from that one before we have a lot of fun beating up on the BIA, you mentioned hickory grounds and things like that. The United States has been battling over the centuries on a separation of church and state. Now, do we see any of that situation coming up here? I mean, like between the tribal government and perhaps the traditional people on the grounds? I know that's gonna be a hot one.
Yeah. Well, I've been here now just short of 5 years. I actually remember the first time you had brought me down here to the radio show in January 2012. But, I know that's been, from what I've heard, kind of a point of contention at some points in the tribe, but it did not come up at that meeting. It didn't, and I kind of wondered if something like that, or even the hickory ground issue, if someone would engage that speaker to get her temperature, and that may have come up at some point, just not when I was there.
Sure. Looks like it might be something we're going to have to look into then, if it becomes some sort of reality there. Okay, now, was there anything else there that caught your ear while you were attending that session?
Not particularly, other than, why people are hesitant to adopt these rights, like I said, and they don't want to put themselves in a position where some of the language causes them, it seems to be from what the lady was speaking that I was there, to where it would take away or inconvenience them to try and better observe these rights and standards. The one thing that's always on the map and that they had mentioned was the Violence Against Women Act, big deal, but something that has to be reauthorized. So they've got a big fight coming up, and I think 2018 to get it back. We know now we have basically Republican control across the board, which seemed to be how things were weighed in the push against that. So kind of wondering how that argument's going to go, and if some of this language like that's in this Declaration of Indigenous Rights might be used in that fight. As you and I both know, some of the people from our own tribe, like Sarah Deer, had spearheaded that initial effort. So you got to wonder if some of this language isn't going to be brought up as just kind of holding the federal government accountable to what is accepted as an international standard.
Sure. Okay. Were there any plans on doing this again? Were there going to?
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to get a hold of Judge Bigler. But, you know, as he had pointed out, something I thought was interesting when he was talking was part of, and you always hear this at the CLE, you've had him on here on Mvskoke Radio several times, is a big part of tribal sovereignty is our ability to prosecute on things happening on our own territory. So, yeah, that's going to be probably a big part of that. And he was talking about how back in the 80s, when tribes started litigating on the federal level for that right, that a lot of people didn't believe that it could ever happen. And here we are with our own court, and now they're just trying to make the push to be able to enforce more and prosecute more things.
Okay. Well, in the last minute or so we will take for this discussion, I'm going to toss it to you. You just settled into the job. I know you've published a letter to Mvskoke citizens about your new role. Is there something you might want to say in about a minute or so about what's going to be happening? We've got so much happening now, the freedom of the press. We're looking at Freedom of Information Act at some point. You've got quite a dynamic staff now to deal with, including yours truly, but anything you wanted to say?
Well, it's a big honor, Gary. I mean, I remember, like I said, it hadn't even been 5 years in January that I was down here just getting trained as a reporter. And I remember you had the then incoming speaker, Sam Alexander, on the show talking about his transition into leadership. But I gotta say, I'm really honored. There's just an incredible amount of talent, and I think what's more important to me is there's a strong sense of ethics and duty, and that's really what got us through this free press transition. Myself and you spoke at the council session initially to kind of encourage them to push it through committee. And it's just crazy to work with veterans like yourself to help lead and empower you to do what you need to do. And my ultimate goal, of course, is to start tying the department more together so we get more reporters here on the radio show and they're contributing content to you, to the television program. And you had mentioned, you know, you want a new PSA soon. Well, we've already started plans to go ahead and record something that promotes Mvskoke Media in our graphic design division. We're trying to get them going again. So really, the job of the manager is to tie the department together, I think, and empower you guys to do more of what you think is right based on your understanding of your disciplines.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sterling. Appreciate you coming in and shedding some light on the meeting and kind of letting our listeners know where Mvskoke Media is headed.
Well, thank you for having me, Gary.
Okay. We're going to jump right into some community announcements, though. Let's see here and take care of the business in the last couple of minutes here. You want to play?
Oh, sure.
Okay. First of all, coming up on Saturday the 19th, the International Survivors of Suicide Loss Day is taking place. You are not alone, reaching out to change your life. That's at the Mvskoke Creek Nation Elderly Nutrition Building, 2975 Martha Berry Hill here in Okmulgee. So if you're interested, again, it's this coming Saturday from 10 till 1 at the Nutrition Center.
A block party is going to be hosted at the Mvskoke Dome in Okmulgee on Saturday, November 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Looks like they're going to have a former Harlem Globetrotter and a Christian rapper. This seems to be a church-themed event. For more information, call 918-366-6735.
The Mvskoke Creek Nation Reintegration Program currently provides driver's license reinstatement programs for current or former RIP clients. Now, the program is extending its license reinstatement services to all Mvskoke Creek citizens who have served any time in jail within the last 4 years and have some difficulty with your license. Services include up to $500 toward their reinstatement fee. For more information, contact the reintegration program at 918-652-2676.
The Mvskoke Creek Nation Department of Health is hosting the annual spring celebration, and they're accepting artwork for the T-shirt design contest until January 13th as part of that event. For more information, call 918-732-7600.
Okay, and lastly, a little bit of a promo for our department. Sterling. We're looking for a new editor for Mvskoke Nation News, and this is not an entry-level position, folks. So if you've got some experience and background in working on newspapers and InDesign,
Yeah, the Adobe computer program.
InDesign 5, is it?
Yeah, the CS 5 to 6.
Okay, yeah. You want to get a hold of those folks, get a hold of Sterling here, and the deadline is...
Well, we're looking to have that filled by December 1st, potentially, so
Okay.
the sooner the better.
All right. Any questions or something like that, get a hold of him at...
It is 918-732-7697.
Okay, that's it for Mvskoke Radio this week. Mabu Hedget Scut. This is Gary Fife saying appreciate you being around, and thank you so much. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mvskoke.
From the far out pre-1160s to the groove and disco of the 70s, even the big hair 80s.